let's give you some pretty cool behind the scenes updates here. So as you've probably noticed by now, no doubt, I've got the episode 1 timeline loaded up in the background, and here you actually see an example of Dr. Jackson, who is waving to the robot, hey, stop horsing around over there, come on, keep up, you know, that kind of thing, right? Except that that's not actually Dr. Jackson. At least it's not a filmed version of Dr. Jackson. This is what you call a digital double. So what was so fun about this is that we actually got one of Dr. Jackson's students, forgive me because I don't know his name, to use an iPhone and to actually scan Dr. Jackson's face in 3D with an iPhone. I mean, the technology is ridiculous. I'm always telling people that God has uniquely put me in a point in time where technology is always coming out just before I need it so that I can use it. So if you think this is cool, check this out. Hopefully Dr. Jackson doesn't mind me showing you this. It's a little bit scary, but here's the actual scan. I actually asked him to keep his mouth open so that we could close or open his mouth, but check that out. And then here's the creepy looking unwrapped version of the image that it gave us. And then what I was able to do is get my buddy Sean to use a program called ZBrush to then amalgamate his head, his 3D version of his head, onto a digital double body. So I had already had this entire thing rigged, which is, you know, the technical term for it. Let's see if we can pull up that QuickTime video here. Here we go. And he's got coding and programming and all sorts of complicated stuff that tell him how he moves and how he functions with Dr. Jackson's face on it. Now, I don't know if you can see this because I'm sure that the videos, you know, by this point is probably pretty small here. Let's see if we can go to double size. Okay, it's a little helping here. So yeah, so this is Dr. Jackson's digital double that you saw over in the other shot. Now let's see if I can go back down to normal size here. So when you see him and he is waving, hey, come on, let's go, you don't see him talking here, but in the actual one that's rendered, he's actually talking and moving his mouth. Over here, that translates to this. Now, why did we do this? Well, because look at this angle from up here. We're up on this heaping pile of rubble, and we were in a green screen stage that was small, so we can't get our camera up at some high angle and shoot him from far away. And you would think, well, why don't you shoot him closer but at the same angle? But it actually doesn't work out in perspective that way. So in cases like this, you use the digital double and trick people. so that was pretty fun. And of course the same thing goes with the Robot 2. So here we have the robot doing the robot, and it's intentionally a bad version of the robot. I just thought that'd be so funny if a robot was doing a really crummy robot. And the same goes with him. We use motion capture to actually do these things, because that's probably the next question you're asking is, well, how did you animate Dr. Jackson in the robot? And I'll tell you right now, we didn't do nearly as much animating as you would think, because if we did, we'd be sitting here until 2030 before we had this thing done. What we did was we cheated, and thanks to the funding that you guys gave us through Indiegogo, we were able to buy a motion capture suit. So I'm going to go ahead and load up a video here and show you me and Sean tinkering with the motion capture suit that we used. Alright, so we got Sean plugged into the suit, and of course the suit always comes in looking a little bit ridiculous here. So we have to do a pose that syncs up Sean with the actual suit. Is it not working?
Hold on.
It's never easy, is it?
Nope, never easy. Wait, there.
There we go. Okay. So Sean does the pose. And there we go.
Okay. Looks like we're good.
Some nice moves here, Sean.
Okay.
Christian ladies out there, look out. Look at these moves. All right. So now that we got the suit working, we're gonna start recording some sessions where we try to imitate the robot or imitate what we think Dr. Jackson would act like, which is certainly not what you see here. And then we take that data and we put it into the scene. So now that you've gotten a little bit of a taste of what it's like when we put the suit on and we're getting the data that we can actually put onto the robot or put onto Dr. Jackson, here's an actual example I shot with my iPhone of us getting one of the more challenging shots. And this is, again, of Sean. I was smart enough to volunteer him, who's actually climbing down, which will later be the hatch scene where Dr. Jackson is, oops, let's use this one over here, is climbing down the hatch. So I don't know if you can see this, but look at the little feet and legs that are actually hanging down. They're climbing into the picture. I know it's probably real small on some of your screens, but there it is. The actual animation that I think you saw in that iPhone footage is the same animation that's used here. I'm not going to show you what happens next, but it's pretty cool that God has blessed us through what you guys have been able to give us to be able to have motion capture technology. Because if we didn't, like I said, man, animating this stuff would have taken us years and years. Oops, I'm showing you some stuff by accident here that I shouldn't be. So that segues into the fact that, well, remember how you were watching that real bad robot stuff from earlier? This is what it actually looks like rendered. So here he is in the actual environment doing this really terrible robot. I'm not going to share with you who recorded that, me or Sean. You'll have to guess. But here he is doing the robot, and Dr. Jackson's like, hey, you know, quit horsing around, keep up. And then this is going to segue into the intro, which I'm really excited to share. I'm actually going to play this whole intro out for you guys. But I'll share a little bit here with you. So, you know, the robot is, Dr. Jackson says something really interesting, which intrigues the robot. And then he has an emoter who actually shows you what he's thinking through expressions, which is, of course, say what? And then we cut straight into a really awesome intro. So this is where the ship is actually blasting through the time travel tunnel, the warp tunnel, whatever you want to call it. And you know, for this I really wanted to give it something that was both beautiful and a little bit scary. A place where, you know, you might want to see it for just a few moments, but you don't really want to hang out there. I'm going to go ahead and play this thing for you. Since it's been a while since I've given you an update, I decided, you know what, you guys deserve to see something play out here. So let's play the full thing for you real quick. So there you have it, guys. There is the first draft of the intro. I'm not sure how much the final version that you guys see is going to change. Everything is always changing on this project, but always for the better, of course. But that should give you a little bit of a taste of what the fun feeling in the intro is going to be like. And I knew as I was putting this video together that I thought, you know, I know what some of these guys are going to be thinking looking at this premiere timeline of the episode. You know, it's tough because, you know, you've got this whole thing laid out and you're waiting on different shots to render, and sometimes things render way over here, but then sometimes you get a sequence of different things that render until finally you can watch an entire minute or two or even longer of the episode 1 or any episode for that matter. But then you got these little stragglers like this guy over here. And boy, this guy, there are always shots like this where you can see how the rendering of the robot in the background isn't in place yet. Actually, the rendering's done on this one, but what hasn't been done is cutting out some of the green screen stuff. I know that's yellow, but in the raw, it's actually green. And I haven't cut it out, and so, you know, it's like, boy, I could watch this entire sequence from start to finish if it weren't for this one guy. And, you know, when so with that in mind now, what I wanted to show you, the thing that I figured some of you guys would be wondering is, do you have the rest of that timeline in there? And the answer is yes, actually I do. I actually do. It's still going. It's still going. So we have almost an hour of content here. By the time we're done, I think it's going to be somewhere around an hour and 15 minutes when you take the episode 1 plus the after show, which we're trying to make the after show as neat and as exciting as the show is itself. And so basically when we're done with this thing, episode 1 is almost going to be, episode 1 and the after show, the total time is probably going to be like a moving length almost. So we're really trying to, we know you guys have been patient and waiting and supporting us, and so we want to make sure that when we deliver, we're giving you something of amazing quality and, you know, plenty to watch. You know, you know, it's not going to be like 20 minutes and it's over. So of course that's the downside of it, is that, you know, you have to wait. Have you ever heard of that funny, whoever came up with this was a genius, the triangle, the good, fast, cheap triangle? Oh my gosh, this is so true. So you have good, fast, and cheap, right, on any production you're in, but you can only pick 2, right? So you can have it good and fast, but you can't have it cheap, right? You can have it cheap and fast, but you can't have it good. Obviously you guys know which camp we're in. You know, we're in the, you know, we want it really good and we want it cheap, which means you're not going to get it fast. So, but you guys have been amazing, actually. You know, like I said before, when COVID hit, you just don't know what's going to happen. You know, I mean, 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, I quit working for Disney, and I just said, all right, Lord, I trust in you. You pay my bills. And I'm not bragging on myself, but you know, the reality is that's what I did, and God honored it. You guys, I've never wanted for anything, and if there's anything I need to make something, you guys provide for it. I mean, you've obviously seen that we're making this stuff, you know, on a shoestring budget, but what's going to come out is going to fool people into thinking that we spent millions and millions of dollars on it. And I have you guys to thank for that. Everyone on Indiegogo and my wonderful Patreon supporters who are seeing this video first before anybody else, you guys are awesome. And I mean, we haven't had hardly any impact financially over this whole thing through COVID. So again, God, you know, thank you. He gets the glory, and he's using you guys to do that. Well, okay, so let's see on my list here. The next thing up is the server room update. I'm sure plenty of you guys have been wondering, hey, how's the server room that you built? I know that you guys saw a quick video and some pictures of it, but I figured this time I was going to show you the dirty side of it when I'm in the middle of like opening up computers and wires are hanging out everywhere, you know, and I'm rendering at the same time, and it's real craziness. But this time at least it's not hot. And with the door closed, it's not loud. I can shut it all in there, and it's absolutely beautiful. I am so thankful to you guys and to the Lord for that server room. It is everything I dreamed of and more. So check out this quick video about what it's really like on a day-to-day basis here. Alright guys, so here's the ugly side of working on Quantum. It's July, and I'm doing a computer upgrade thanks to a wonderful sponsor. I'll be able to do some environmental work, scenes, digital stuff that'll go 4 times faster now, so that's going to be an incredible boost. And while I'm doing that, here I've got all the computers opened up and wires everywhere, and the place is a total mess, but the cool thing is I'm rendering right now too, so I'm doing 2 things at one time thanks to this amazing server room that you guys helped me sponsor. It is absolutely incredible, guys. I've been using it for, oh goodness, I guess I don't even know how long now. I think the coronavirus stuff has completely disorientated time for me, but it's been a while, and it's been wonderful. Have no problems with it. It's incredibly cooling, even with all these machines running right here. That one do-it-yourself mini split up there is taking care of the whole job. You can walk in there right now, and it's cool even with all these hot computers running. It has been such an incredible blessing, guys. I cannot thank you enough for making this a reality. me. And yes, thank you also to the sponsor too. You know who you are, who helped me to doing this computer upgrade. It's been fantastic. So I just wanted you guys to kind of see the messy, ugly side of what it's like sometimes when I'm working on Quantum. Alright, so I'm trying to keep this as quick as I can considering all the things I'm trying to share. I think I covered most of catching you somewhat up to speed here, but the big announcement I wanted to make, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. I'm excited about it. You know, a lot of you know what's been going on with my wife over the years. She has this debilitating problem. We don't know exactly what it is. She had a big surgery last year. Didn't help at all. You know, COVID, obviously, and other things in life. You know, Quantum being a big giant pain in the butt all by itself. So Sean calls me into his office/room, and this is one of those lovely little inexplicable problems we're having.
You know what sucks about this is I've been working for, let's see how long I've been working on this. I've been working on this for nearly 12 hours, and now the foot is completely freaking out. And if I can't fix this, I have to start over again.
What would even cause that?
I don't know.
What would even cause the Dr. Jackson jiggle?
Well, maybe we'll make it part of the plot, and his futuristic sneakers will have elastic jiggle or something. I don't know.
This is just one of those things, you know. I mean, what would you say? Not even on a daily basis. I would say on like an hourly basis. There's just some ridiculous stuff, just stuff you can't even explain. So now we're gonna spend the rest of the day probably trying to solve this bizarre mystery of the jiggly foot. You know, with all these things and more going on, it's obvious to me that I put a big target on my back when I made Genesis. And, you know, Satan is doing everything that he can, I believe, to stop me from putting out anything else. You know, I was foolish enough to think while I was working on Genesis that, you know, once I got this thing out, I'm done. Great. I got it out there. I did it. Thank you, God. You know, it's accomplished. It's out in the world. And what can really stop it now? You know, I should have known this, but I didn't realize at the time that, like, oh no, he's smarter than that, Satan. And he's got all sorts of ways that he can try to stop Genesis and stop Quantum and other things at the same time. So how do you respond to this kind of a thing? Well, I'll tell you one way you can do it. You can double down. And that's what I think is fun about this next thing I'm going to announce. You know, I'm not sure how you guys are going to feel about it, because you're probably like, oh man, this guy's nuts. He's taking on all this stuff. But, you know, let me give you backstory. When I was working on Genesis, there was a whole bunch of stuff that didn't make it into the movie. You know, they say in this industry that you have to kill your darlings. You know, you make these wonderful segments with this amazing information, and you're like, oh, if this lost person here could hear this, maybe this is just the message he needs to hear. And if that lost person over there could hear this part, maybe, you know, and you're just thinking like, oh Lord, I don't want to take this stuff out because you know, this is critical information. But I had to get it down to under a couple hours. And one of the things that was taken out was a segment. I can't tell you exactly what it was, because here on Patreon, which is run by, you know, people who out in California who have liberal values, I don't, you know, want them to kick me off of Patreon. I'll share with you in other places what's going on, but here on Patreon, I'm just going to say this. There was some stuff in there that was taken out that, you know, at the time, it took me years to make that movie. When the Obama administration was in control, they, through the Supreme Court, had passed some massive changes in the law. And what had happened was, you know, I had the stuff in the movie that I had to take out, and it was like 2 or 3 years later that the movie's finally released. And in that time, I was so devastated because I thought, you know, it takes me so long to make this high quality stuff that it's like the world can sometimes just pass me by, and I'm not able to be able to share this up-to-date real-time information with people that I feel like God has put on my heart and given me the talent to produce these great materials that people want to watch, including pagans, secular people. And it's been something that, of course, with Quantum or with any major production I'm working on, where I'm trying to make it like this Hollywood looking thing, this high production value. It takes a while, as you guys know. And in the interim, all these things are happening that I don't get to talk about. So in other words, the short of it is, when I'm making something, it's going to be years before people get to hear that message. And then if I keep making all this big stuff and that's all I'm ever focused on, then every few years you hear a new message. I mean, in some cases, you're missing out on all the stuff in between, or you're reporting on something that's now actually old and people have moved on, right? That kind of stuff. So what I've decided to do, and it's been something I've wanted to do for a long time now, is I'm going to double down. I can see really clearly that obviously what we're doing here is touching some nerves in the demonic realms. Obviously Satan doesn't want us doing this stuff, and he's doing what he can to prevent it. So let's not get scared and let's not back down. Let's go to YouTube. Let's actually start creating free content, high quality content that people don't have to pay for. That's high quality, but it's made quick and dirty. So we're not talking about maybe Hollywood high quality, but for YouTube and stuff like that, super high quality, great stuff that we make on the fly. And now we can actually share these smaller messages that are critical and pertinent and time sensitive and relevant to that month or whatever, and get that stuff out there too, and have both things going at one time. Let's not lose focus on the big things that we're doing, but still be able to create stuff that's that's keeping us up with what's going on in the world. I mean, look at the time that we live in right now, right? I mean, a lot of us understand that we live in the end times. You and I know that. I've heard some Christians who think that we still have 50 or 100 years or something, and I think that's just crazy. I've heard other Christians who always think it's imminent and next year it's all over, and I don't think I agree with that either. If you do, I respect that, but I still think that there's infrastructure that has to be in place here. There's some critical things that have to happen for us to get there. We could be looking at 5, 10, 15, maybe even 20 years, maybe 30. I definitely think it's going to happen in our lifetime. And so I'm sitting here thinking to myself, guys, with COVID, what this is showing us is the whole control through fear tactic, right, that we know that the Antichrist system is going to introduce. And so I actually think that we're witnessing history, right? We know that Israel became a nation in 1948, right? We've been looking at the earthquakes in various places and the wars and the rumors of wars, but we've always been asking ourselves for decades now, yeah, but there's really not this worldwide pestilence and famine thing going on. Well, look what just showed up to our doorstep. So I wanted to share this with you because I think that it is critical for you and I to start buckling up and strapping in and realizing that, what? We probably have a limited amount of time here. I mean, even if you believe that Jesus is coming back 50 years from now, that doesn't give you a lot of time. And if you're like me and you think it's going to be a lot shorter than that, then you especially don't have a lot of time. So that's why I feel like, let's do two things at once. Let's make the big stuff and let's make the small stuff. Let's fire on all cylinders at the same time. And you know what? We have the other side of eternity with the Lord to take a breather, right? So I thank you guys for all the support you're giving me. I want to encourage you personally, make sure you're not just giving money and donating, but try to become actively involved, I know know it's a little bit embarrassing to think when you're in the gas station to leave a tract or to share the gospel with somebody, but really try to push yourself out of that comfort zone and use things like COVID and whatnot to show you that the world is changing. Well, you know, the writing is on the wall. The word has told us from the beginning what's going to happen, and now we're witnessing some things going down that are should be shaking us in our core and saying, hey, you don't have to be afraid of this, but discern the times and see what's coming. So that's my big announcement for you guys. I'm really excited. I'm not sure when the first video is going to be released. I'm working on it with some other gentlemen, and your funding is actually going towards that too, which is wonderful. So feel free to write me and share any comments that you have. As many of you know, I try to have an open policy here on Patreon where you can share whatever thoughts that you want with me. I think that I owe that to you guys. So thanks for sticking through this long update video. I'm not able to see the time, but in my head I'm thinking it must be somewhere around 20 or 30 minutes by now, maybe longer, but I owed it to you guys anyway, so I'm sure many of you guys are happy to get all this content. But like I said, I love you guys. I love you, my brothers and sisters in Christ. I hope that doesn't sound funny saying you guys are amazing, and let's keep trucking through this. We expected this. We knew that this time was coming. Here we are, and now more than ever does the world need to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. So let's do it, guys. I'll see you next time in the next update. God bless you.